Hello, my name is Julie Dries. I'm the children's librarian at the Harrison Township Public Library. Today we are doing a Kids Can Cook segment, and we will be making no-bake wreath treats for the holidays. So we don't even have to use an oven or even a stove for this activity. We are just going to use the microwave oven. So kids, make sure you have your parents' permission. I know some of you guys might be old enough to use the microwave by yourself, but always check first. Little ones, you're going to want an adult to help you. And of course, adults, you can make these all by yourself even if you don't have kids around, because that's fun too. But if you do have a little one, this is a great treat to make together. So let's take a look at the ingredients that you're going to need to make this recipe. First thing you're going to need are marshmallows. We'll grab a bag of those big old puffy marshmallows. The next thing we'll need is some butter. So you'll want to have some butter on hand. The next thing is some green food coloring. You can use the kind that comes in the little liquid containers. Mine happens to be a gel kind. Kids, make sure you're really, really careful with food coloring because it stains and it gets all over. So you need to be very careful when we get to this part of the recipe. The next thing we're going to need are some cornflakes, good old-fashioned cornflakes. And then we will need, for some decorations, M&M Minis. I have separated them out here. I've separated the red ones out because we need the red ones for this. You can also use those cinnamon candies that you can find in the baking aisle. Those work too. They're a little harder on your teeth when you bite into them. The M&Ms are a little bit softer on the teeth, but whatever is your preference, either one works for decorations. So we are going to get started on our recipe with the first step. The first thing we need to do is open up that bag of marshmallows, and we're going to count them out. So I have in here, you're going to want some sort of a container that you can put in the microwave. So make sure that your dish is microwave safe. You definitely don't want any kind of metal. I'm using a glass container, and sometimes you can use ones that are specially made for the microwave. So check with the adult in your household and find one of those. I counted out 20 marshmallows and put them in my container. So that's the first thing you'll need, 20 marshmallows. Next thing we need is our butter. So we're going to take our butter here, and when you open up some butter, you will see on the butter here that it gives you measurements. So each one of these little lines on here is a tablespoon of butter. In this particular recipe, we need 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to look 1, 2, and I'm just going to put it on a cutting board here, and we're going to cut right at the point here. I don't know if you guys can see right where I'm cutting. After 2 tablespoons, I'm just going to cut it. And we want to take the paper off because you don't want paper in your wreaths because that would be gross. So unwrap your paper here. And I'm going to cut up my 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'm just going to cut it up into a few smaller pieces just so that when we heat it up, it's not one big glump of butter and it's spread out a little bit more. And then I'm just going to add it here into my marshmallows. There we go. So we have butter and our marshmallows, and they're ready to go. Our next step is putting them into the microwave oven. So that is what we will do next. Here we are at the microwave, and we've got our mixture here. We've got our butter and our marshmallows. We're going to put it in the microwave. The recipe says 45 seconds. All microwaves are a little bit different. So it could be anywhere from 45 seconds to maybe a little over a minute. You want the marshmallows to be puffy and you want the butter to be melted. So keep an eye on them. I'm going to set mine here for 45 seconds and start. And then we'll see if it takes 45 seconds or if we need to leave them in a little bit longer. Let's take a peek. Okay, you can see here, can you guys see how they're all puffy and our butter is melty in there. So I think they're about done. Mine took about a minute. I'm going to bring it over to the table and we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So I will meet you there. Now we're going to add some green food coloring to our puffy, melty mix here of marshmallows and butter. So again, be careful with this, you guys. Make sure that you have some napkins on hand, and if you get it on yourself, don't get it on your clothes, or don't get it on like your chairs and things. So I'm going to add a couple of pinches of this, just a couple of drops. Usually with food coloring, a little bit goes a long way. So try a little at first, and if it's not enough, you can always add some. And we're going to mix this up and see what it looks like when it's mixed. I'm noticing that mine is not quite green enough, so I'm going to add a couple more drops of green food coloring. I'm going to mix, and then when I get it the right color, we'll come back and do the next step. You can see here that we now have some green mixture. It's very sticky. If for some reason it gets way too sticky for you to work with and it starts hardening up a little bit, you can put it back in the microwave. Just pop it in there for another few seconds and let it get a little bit loosened up. Next, we have to add our corn flakes, and our corn flakes are going to get covered in this and make the leaves for our wreaths. So I have a 1 cup measuring device here, and we are going to do 3 cups of corn flakes. So we're just going to put those in there and mix them into our marshmallow mix. There's 1. And 2. And 3. And as you have noticed, sometimes when you're measuring, you can make a little bit of a mess here. I'm just going to push that aside and clean it up later. And now let's get some mixing happening. And we're going to get this all mixed in and get everything coated. And again, I will do mixing here off camera a little bit and come back when I've got all of my cornflakes covered with my marshmallow mixture. I think we have our mixture completed. So our next step then is to shape them into wreaths. Now this recipe is supposed to make about 8. So you're going to kind of divide it into 8 little chunks, and we're going to use, you're going to need some wax paper, okay? That keeps it from sticking to your plate. So you can use a plate or a tray of any kind and just put a little chunk of wax paper on there. And we're going to be forming some wreaths now. So I'm going to take a little chunk of it. And the first thing you want to do too, you guys, I forgot to, this is a really important step, so we don't want to leave this out. Remember that butter that we had? We're going to take some butter. Make sure you don't have any rings or anything on your fingers. And we're going to get butter on our hands. Yeah, it's going to feel pretty slippery and kind of weird. But once you start working with this marshmallowy mixture, if you don't have this on your hands, it's just going to stick to your hands and be really hard to work with. So we're going to grease up our hands with some butter, get them nice and slippery, and then we're going to dig in here, take a chunk, and we're going to start forming it into a wreath. I'm going to crunch it down. And once I have a little ball here, you guys see how I have a little ball? I'm going to put it on my plate, and I'm going to press it down, and I'm going to poke my finger into the middle so that it makes the wreath shape. Sometimes little pieces might fall off here, but my hands are really sticky and greasy here, but I'll see if I can show you one real quick. So you see how that one looks? All right, I don't want it to fall off. So I'm going to continue making wreaths here, and once I get all of them done, we'll see if it turns out to be 8. I'm going to try to plan it that way, and when we get back, we'll put the decorations on them. So it turns out that my wreaths were maybe a little bit bigger, so I only came out with 6 wreaths. If you guys want to make more or you want to make larger ones, you can always double the recipe and make more. I ended up making 6. It was supposed to make 8, but here are 4 of mine. So you can see how they turned out. And I don't know if you noticed in my little sped up montage there where you could see that I was buttering my hands in between each one of these because they start to get really, really sticky. And if it gets too sticky, you can't even make the wreath shape because it's all stuck to your hands. So keep that butter handy and use it when you need to. You can even stop and wash your hands in between and start with fresh hands if they get too goopy. Now we need to take our mini M&Ms and make some decorations on here. So all you're going to do is press them in where you think they look cute. Do you want to make a little group of 3 M&Ms in a spot? Do you want to make them go all the way around the wreath? I think I'm going to make mine go all the way around the wreath and just make them pretty. I'm going to turn over the M&M because I really don't want the M to show, I don't think, but you don't have to do that. The other thing you can get for these, if you can find those licorice, like red licorice, real skinny ones that you could actually tie into a little bow. That's another cute way to decorate these. So whatever you want, you could even sprinkle them with some red decorating sugar if you wanted. So decorations are up to you guys. Do it however you think looks cute. This is the part where you can get creative with these and make them your own. Now you're going to notice as you're pushing your decorations in here too that these are still pretty soft and goopy, and you don't want to eat these right away because they need some time for the marshmallows to harden back up again, because if you try to pick them up right now, they're just going to be a mushy mess. So as soon as you get done decorating, you want to leave them. You're just going to leave them alone for a couple of hours until they harden up, and then they will be perfect for you to taste test and take a bite of. So let me add 1 or 2 more of these and I'll kind of try to show you my my finished product here. I push them in kind of good, otherwise they're going to fall off. So kind of stick them in there. I'm doing maybe 5 on each one. Do whatever looks good to you. So you can see here that I've started decorating and they now look like little Christmas wreaths. So have fun making these if you decide to give it a try. I'm glad you joined me and watched the video today, and I hope that your holidays are very happy, and I will see you next time.